All right, the final festival that we will look at is the festival of Purim. And this is the festival that commemorates the victory God gave to the Jewish people by the hand of Esther. And so if you read the Book of Esther, you will understand the festival of Purim. Purim itself is the word meaning lots. It celebrates this victory which the Jews had when it appeared that Haman, an evil officer of the Persian court, that he had gained the authority to attempt the mass destruction of the Jews. How many times do we read about this in history, where there were those who rose to try to annihilate the Jewish people? So Haman was a precursor of someone like Hitler. At the end of the book of Esther, after summarizing the events which take place, the following is found. Therefore they called these days Purim, after the name Pur, and meaning lot. And because of the instructions in this letter, both what they had seen in this regard and what had happened to them, the Jews established and made a custom for themselves and for their descendants and for all those who allied themselves with them, so that they should not fail to celebrate these 2 days according to the regulation and according to their appointed time annually. So these days were to be remembered and celebrated throughout every generation, every family, every province, and every city. And these days of Purim were not to fail from among the Jews, or their memory fade from their descendants. So I think surely we class Esther as a canonical book, as the Word of God. Therefore, we see these instructions to us to remember this festival of Purim. The 2 days referred to are explained in the biblical account. The rural Jews celebrated on the 14th of Adar, while the Jews living in Susa, the capital city of Persia at the time, celebrated on the 15th of Adar. Some Orthodox communities still make this distinction between those living in unwalled cities and those living in walled cities, but generally everyone celebrates Purim on the 15th of Adar. There are 4 mitzvot connected with the festival, according to the sages. Reading the story of Esther, which is called Megillah Esther, sometimes just the Megillah. Engaging in festivity and rejoicing, giving and sending gifts to one another, and giving and sending gifts to the poor. And these do come from the text of Esther, at least by way of interpretation. These mitzvot, or obligations, have been carried out in various ways throughout the centuries of Jewish history. Because of the requirement to read the story of Esther, it became tradition to write the biblical book on its own small scroll and refer to it as Megillat Esther. Many of these are decorated with ornate initial capitals and other decorative art and are treasured as art pieces. I've seen them advertised in Israel and other places quite prevalently. One tradition when listening to Esther being read is to drown out the name of Haman whenever it is read with noise and with booing, with usually what they call, from the Middle Ages, groggers or noisemakers. It's easy to make a noisemaker. Take a small tin can and after it's empty and fill it with popcorn and cover the end, tape the end up or something, and then use that as a shaker. There's all kinds of ways you can make noise when Haman's name is read. But what is this tradition? It's based upon Deuteronomy 25. It says in Deuteronomy 25:17 and 18 and 19, "Remember what Amalek did to you along the way when you came out from Egypt, how he met you along the way and attacked among you all the stragglers at your rear when you were faint and weary, and he did not fear God. Therefore it shall come about, when the Lord your God has given you rest from all your surrounding enemies, in the land which the Lord your God gives you as an inheritance to possess, you shall blot out the memory of Amalek from under heaven. You must not forget." Now, how do you blot out the memory of Amalek and not forget him? How do you put those two together? Since Haman is an Amalekite, and how do we get that? On connection to Agag, king of the Amalekites. So the Amalekites, the Agagites. The fulfilling of this commandment to remember to blot out the name of Amalek is fulfilled, according to the sages, by blotting out the name of Haman when the story is read. So make the noisemakers, and when you read the story, whenever you hear his name coming, make so much noise that his name is blotted out. It's a lot of fun. The festivity and rejoicing is carried out in a traditional meal on the afternoon of the 15th, in which there are often skits and songs of a festive nature. Most congregations begin their festivals on the evening of the 14th, on which the Megillah is read, eating together, encouraging the children to dress up and come prepared for games, skits, and whatever seems appropriate for a party. It's common to see carnival-type games for the kids to produce the festive atmosphere. And so we encourage our kids to dress up as one of the characters in the Esther story. And we just have a great time. It is that rejoicing festival of, once again, God's victory over his enemies and the enemies of his people. A Talmudic note indicates that from the standpoint of some of the sages, quote, it is the obligation of each person to be so drunk, that is, on Purim, as not to be able to tell the difference between blessed be Mordecai and cursed be Haman. This was, of course, greatly disputed by other sages and variously interpreted, but all came to realize that such a statement was obviously an exaggeration and simply tried to emphasize the festive nature of the day. The point of the Talmudic injunction was that each person should give in to honest celebration and festivities. But being drunk, that is, by alcohol, is something fools engage in. The point is simply that those who would otherwise not be inclined to party should give way to the festive nature of the day. So hopefully no one takes that literally, although I'm sure some have. The giving of gifts to each other, mishloach manot, and giving gift to the poor, matnot la'avyanim, are carried out individually or family to family. What is the meaning of the festival of Esther? It's yet another celebration, as I said, of the victory that God has given to his people over enemies who wish to annihilate the Jewish nation. It marks a historical event that proves once again that God keeps his promises, that he is faithful to his covenant. It becomes then a time to reflect upon God's care and protection and the truth that he has not rejected Israel and that Israel lives because her God lives.